Hi guys, it's Nicole. I'm filming this on my iPhone today. I just wanted, Elise and I were watching videos last night of really scary ghosty stuff, and so I just wanted to post a quick video of some experiences that I have had. And this isn't directly related to me, but I think this is how it started. It was my sister's sweet 16 birthday party, and she had a bunch of people over in our basement, and they were doing the Ouija board. And my sister's friend, she had one of the very first 600 Ouija boards ever invented, and there was a demon attached to it, so they say. I'm not a skeptic, I believe, but you know. So there was a demon attached to it, and they talked to it. Sorry guys. They talked to it, and it basically told them that they were all fucked and that they were all gonna die. And my sister just was so scared. So scared. They talked to it for a really long time too. And after that, we started having weird things happening in our house. It was never bad. It was just kind of like not good. My sister, after that, started having night terrors and sleep paralysis. And she would wake up and feel like there was someone holding her chest down and she couldn't breathe. And she would wake up screaming. And her and I, the bedrooms that we had were right next to each other, but they used to be just one big bedroom. And then the family that owned it, two families before us, put a wall up to make two smaller bedrooms. And so the wall was super thin, so I could almost hear everything that came from my sister's room at that time. And she would wake up screaming, and I would run in there, and she would just be laying there. And it was the scariest thing. And this happened up until we moved out of that house. When I was 21, we moved out. Then after my dad moved out, I moved into the basement to have a bigger room. It wasn't much bigger, but it was quite a bit bigger. That's a lie. I lived in a shoebox up until the time that I was 17. It was awful. All of my friends from high school can attest to that. Everyone who ever had to sleep over, it was awful. So I moved into the basement, and my mom had got me a pink iPod mini. I was so excited because not an iPod mini, an iPod Nano, because my iPod mini, 2000s, my iPod mini shit the bed. It literally, when it died, had a sad face on it. Like, it was the saddest thing I've ever seen. And so she bought me this pink iPod Nano, and I was so excited. And I had this docking station so I could play it in my room, and it had a push button to turn it on and a dial for the volume. And many times, because I used to listen to it at night, many times I would come home from school or whatever after having turned it off because I went to school, and it would just be on, playing music. And like I said, push button, clicks, and it had a dial on the side that you turned for the volume. So it wasn't like some weird freak malfunction or anything. There was no way. And I would come home a lot, and it would be on. And then our computer, because at this point my mom and my sister both had laptops and I did not. So I was using the desktop, which was in the basement. And that's also where the the Ouija boardness happened, was in the basement. And so I would just be sitting in the basement, you know, typing on AIM, whatever, chatting with people, MySpacing. Oh, God. And I would hear breathing coming from directly behind me, right here. And I would turn ever so slightly, and there was never anything there, but it was, oh, look at the sun. It was absolutely terrifying. And every time it happened, I would brush it off, and it would stop for a little bit, especially after I turned around and looked. It would stop for a little bit, and then it would come back, and then it wouldn't go away. So then I was like, okay, so I'm going upstairs now. And then one night, this was, God, forever and ever and ever ago. I don't even remember how long ago it was. Jimmy and I were on the phone one night, and I had this cute little pink lamp on my bedside table, and it had like, it was made to look like a chandelier, but it was just like a tabletop lamp. And I had that on because I had fluorescent lights in my bedroom, and because it was a basement. And I had that on, and I had my music off because I was on the phone. And Jimmy and I were talking, and then my music turned on, and he goes, "What was that?" And I was like, "Oh, it was just my music." And he was like, "No, not that." And I was like, "What?" And he was like, "There's banging on my wall. Someone is banging on my wall." And I was like, "You're being paranoid." And he was like, "No, really." And I could hear it after that. And he was on the second floor of their house, you know, no balconies or anything. So there's no way that anyone was just like up on their house banging on their walls. And then his lights started flickering, and my lights started flickering, and we were both freaking out. And then I could hear someone talking on the phone that was not him and was not his mother, because they were the only two home at the time, and I was on my cell phone because that's all I ever used. And I could hear someone talking, and I didn't know what it was, but it was really freaking me out. And I panicked, and I was like, fuck this. And I hung up on him. But everything went right back to normal. There was no lights flickering. Oh, jeez. There were no lights flickering. The music turned off. Like, everything just stopped. And he called me back, and he was like, "What the fuck?" And I was like, "Dude, I have no idea." So we were both pretty freaked out about that. Throughout my childhood, there were a couple of other, you know, experiences that I could talk about. I mean, nothing too huge, you know, knocking. And I mean, like I said, the music was a huge, huge thing. And my sister's night terrors, like I said, those didn't go away until we moved out of there. But then even so, when we moved out, I still had some weird experiences for a while in the new apartment. She didn't. She was fine. And like my friend Sam, when we moved into that apartment, she was terrified. She hated it. There was this dark, dark hallway. And it's like, it went down to the bathroom. The bathroom was over here, and my sister's room was over here. And then there was just a wall. And we hung like our Red Wings flag up there. It looked really cool, but like it was very dark. And because there were no windows, there were no windows in the bathroom. There were 2 windows in my sister's room and 1 window in my room. And then there was the sliding glass door in the living room. And that was it for windows. So, which is actually how it is in this apartment as well. But for some reason, this apartment is very well lit. Because I live in the same apartment complex, just in a different apartment now. But yeah, Sam hated it when we first moved in. She could feel it. I could feel it. Like I said, my sister couldn't anymore. So things just got weird, you know. But those were my most memorable stories, I guess. Trying to think if there's anything else that I can think of. There wasn't anything really, but there is one story I do like to tell, just because this was like a thing, and my sister and I grew up kind of afraid of this. We watched, her and I, one night while we were still living in the old house, we watched The Haunting in Connecticut, the documentary, and it was real good, obviously. And like I said, so like our rooms were right next to each other, and we watched it, and then we went to bed, and she came into my room like an hour later, and she was like, I can't fall asleep. Can you come sleep in my room with me? And I was like, Danielle, and she's like, listen, I'm gonna have a night terror. I can just tell, and I need you in here. So I went in there, and I slept with her, and she didn't have one that night. So I wonder if that had anything to do with it. But I do want to talk about my hoodie, since we're talking about paranormal experiences. The Paulding light is something in where I'm from. We call it a ghost light. That's what it is. The dirt road sectioned off that goes to it. And then they have guardrails that they suggest you don't pass. But everybody does, obviously. And they go hike down there. There's rivers and a whole bunch of shit to try and get to where this light is. And we've had NASA here and Ghost Adventurers and Michigan Tech University, and they all try to solve it. And Michigan Tech thinks they solve it every single year, and let me just tell you that they don't. It's just a floating light in the sky, and it comes out every single night. Rain or shine, sleet or snow, like a fucking mailman, shows up every night. And the theory behind it is, as you can see, there's a train on my hoodie. The theory behind it is that there was an old train, a railway that ran through there, and there was the light dude that waved down this. Obviously this would have been like from like way. The first records of it date back to the 50s, so it's been a long time. But they had the dude that waved the lantern for the trains to know where to stop. He is that he somehow got caught on the tracks and was waving the train, and the train came and hit him and he died. And he's just stuck on a loop doing his job every single night for the rest of time. And the reason I think that is pretty legit is because the light changes colors. Change colors from red to green to white a lot. If you ever get the chance to go out there, I do suggest doing it. Make a whole night of it. Bring lots of bug spray. It is in the woods. If you like hiking, I would suggest taking some hiking gear up there and maybe trying to get back and see as far as you can. There are some theories, obviously, to try and debunk it, but nothing ever really works. There is a highway way on the other side. Like I said, Ghost Adventurers was here, and they did everything they possibly could to debunk and prove it wrong. They had like a section of that highway closed off, and they were flashing lights and headlights and things like that down there. Nothing came through. They even rented a small plane to try. Nothing. Obviously, you can hear a fucking plane, come on. But I don't know. And then Michigan Tech every year around Halloween says they've solved it, and it's a big hullabaloo, but they never have, and they never will, because it's not solvable. It's a fucking ghost, my dude. And on that note, I'm out. Yeah, so those are my stories. Anyone have a story they'd like to share? let me know. Have a good day.